Hey Doug, how are you?
Megan, can't be better. Thank you. It's great to see you again.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm so glad that I don't know when Thanksgiving started. I mean, I know what Thanksgiving represents, but it's always been a really fun day in my life. Growing up as a young child, turkey, stuffing. I mean, on and on and on. And always had friends over. I don't know why that was like that. I mean, I can't remember ever going to anybody else's house for Thanksgiving. It was always at our house, and it was just really, what it says. Thanksgiving. I mean, giving thanks for all the things that you had in your life, or that went your way, or friendships that you had, and so it's always. I always have a smile on my face when I think of Thanksgiving.
I know. Well, don't you agree though? We should we celebrate Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving, but I think we should celebrate Thanksgiving every day because we're so blessed to be in the USA and to have food and shelter and like the basic things in life and clean water. You know, we should be thankful every day for the simple things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are who our thoughts are, and I talked to you before about this. I think, if we get up and just turn into a robot, what do I mean by that? Is just do the things that our mind starts telling us to do. We're going to just follow our habits. So whether those habits are good or bad, that's the direction you're going to be following the rest of your life. I mean, if you're wanting to just work marginally and give it less than a 50% effort and don't care about who your friends are, I don't have a good prognosis for you in terms of your efficiency, your accomplishments, your happiness. It just goes right on down the line. You have to give a little bit to get something. And I think too many people today always want to just receive and never give. And that means giving your time, your effort, your concentration, making achievements. What do I mean by that? Finishing educational requirements. Doesn't necessarily have to be in a college. It could be in any number of things. Any field that you decide to go on. You and I talk about real estate all the time. Both of us have a background in real estate. That's a hard job. People think you just go around and make all this money. No, there's a lot of work and effort, and you're on stage. You're on stage every day to all your clients and even yourself. To just keep
Well,
motivating.
I think you should tell this story because I know you had lunch with my son last week, which is super kind of you to visit my son. But your story of that house, and you should share that story because it's so cool.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you have to be in real estate to have this happen to you, but I was living in Ohio, operating Burger King restaurants, and you know, I'm not saying sight unseen. At the time, I didn't really know anybody in Arizona, and I was going to move to Arizona because there was an opportunity in Burger King Corporation to move to Arizona. It was underpenetrated at the time in terms of numbers of locations in comparison with its competitors. So they were looking for people to try to transfer out to Arizona. That's a long way. I mean, that's 2,000 miles. That's like going around the world, back in
Correct.
the day. I mean, you're like, you've never been there before. And so I went there one time, and basically, sight unseen, I got a newspaper from like a, it was a grocery store, but it wasn't a full-fledged grocery store. It had like a book section in it. Crazy. Like you could go buy books, but there was also magazines and newspapers from all over the country that you could go buy. Now they might be a day or so delayed or late, but it didn't matter. So I went over there and I picked up several Phoenix, Arizona newspapers, and I started calling real estate agents in the area. And to this day, I'm still good friends with the guy that I called, Steve Jurek. And, he put me in touch with a piece of property that was right next to Arizona State University. So I knew there was going to be a bunch of college kids that never slept. They were going to be up all night eating, for midterms, whatever the case might be. And there was other people that were there also. But, downtown Tempe at that time, that was 20, 30 years ago, was much different than it is today. I mean, today there's skyscrapers. Again, it's right next to the university of a very well-known Arizona State. And I walk in there, I'm going to buy this property for over $400,000. That was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
It's a lot of money right now. And so I go in there, and there's a residential house, Megan, on this property in downtown. I mean, come on, downtown Tempe, and there's businesses all surrounding it. And I walk in there, I get the keys from the realtor. He goes, well, he couldn't show it that night or whatever. So I walk in there. There's a whole bunch of probably 10 people in there sleeping, and that's their house. Now, they're not the residents of it. Call them whatever you want. They're homeless. They're homeless people, which are common everywhere now. They just happen to pick out this house and go sleep in it. And there was probably 10 of them in there. I'm just glad, because my wife and I went at the same time, that none of them were violent or anything like that. They just came in, kind of showed us the house, even though they didn't own it or have anything to do with it. And I just said, you know what? This thing is not only going to be good today, it's going to be good in the future. And so I ended up buying it, building a Burger King restaurant on it for 20 years. And most franchises in fast food are 20 years. You can get longer sometimes, but after 20 years, I wasn't involved with Burger King that much anymore. I was on the downside in terms of my time and investment. And I received a call from ChickfilA, which most people know is a huge concept out of, I think it's Atlanta, Georgia is their home market. And they do great in sales. They're one of the largest, fast food restaurants in terms of gross sales. And so what I did was I was doing so many other things. I was coaching in the NFL. I was coaching in NCAA. I had other businesses going, other real estate ventures. And so what happened was I started really reaching out to companies like Chick-fil-A, and they ended up taking that location on a lease. And it's fantastic, Megan. I smile every time I go by there because it's a successful business. They're making money, and I'm not down there helping, coordinate employees and scheduling and work orders or food orders, all those sort of things. Being a landlord is a wonderful thing. And, I watched a movie one time with Ray Kroc in it. And at the end of it, he was, like one of the first ever McDonald's franchisees, and, just really got that thing started off. And the movie basically said, it's not about what you sell in the business, it's about what you own. And you're a partner in that business without really being a partner. It's almost like the bank on your mortgage. They're a partner in your house, even though you don't know it. But, that's a mortgage too that, they can't pay off because they just rent the land from me and the building. And, it's a wonderful thing hearing that they're very successful despite closing on Sunday. And so it's a great investment. And
so basically you built a Chick-fil-A, and they rent from you. Essentially, they rent from you.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You gave them the property to build. But I love Chick-fil-A because it's all faith-based, and that's why they're closed on Sundays. But yep. I love it. It's like my favorite fast food. That and Taco Bell is my other second favorite.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And I'm pretty much the same way. My brother loved Taco Bell, and and I had some partners sometimes too with Burger King. And after we ended up selling the final Burger Kings a number of years ago, my partners went into Taco Bell and had a tremendous success here in Phoenix. And ended up building and buying up to 47 restaurants. And really sold just when this whole pandemic thing started. And they sold to a money fund, a hedge fund. Maybe I don't even think it was even in the country. That this was a international company that purchased all these restaurants. And so everything in life has a timing to it. And I think even looking back on our own exploits and our own successes and failures, if you would have started a little bit sooner, or a little bit later, or just at the right time, things just worked out fantastic. I mean, how would you like to now be a business owner in America where you're responsible for trying to hire multiple people, over a wide range of age demographics, and you're based on foot traffic coming into your business, when in fact there were just protests there over the last 6 months, which buildings were burnt down and destroyed. And, would it be a great time to be opening a business right now? As hard as it is in America, I say no. timing is everything. And, if you were on the flip side of this, like my friends that just sold their Taco Bells, they're laughing. No, I'm not laughing. They're having a good time figuring out what they're going to be doing after that, because they know now they're not waking up every day knowing 47 Taco Bells have to be turning the lights on, having employees come in, prepare the food, get ready for customers, all the things that go into making a business. That's why I'm sorry, I don't have much patience when I listen to television and radio about people getting very frustrated about corporations. If it wasn't for corporations, we wouldn't have a country. Who else would be paying? I know they say that they don't pay any tax. I promise you, they pay tax. And there's a thing called a tax code, which the Internal Revenue has written, which basically says, here's the things that you can do. Here's the things you can write off. So I laugh when I hear these people on television not knowing anything about what they're saying. I ended up taking 13 accounting classes after I graduated with my bachelor's degree at Ohio State. And I really found out how these businesses work, income statements, balance sheets, all these sort of terminology that you never really think about, but these are really big deals in corporations and in family-owned businesses also. And it's just not as renegade as the people, the average American thinks, that all these just terrible companies and corporations are out there just stealing and ravaging our country. It's not the case. All they're simply doing is following the tax code. Otherwise, they'd be in jail. I mean, if they were wanting to go out and do their own thing, I promise you, they wouldn't be walking the streets within 30 days. And maybe this new 86,000 IRS agents that are going to be hired by our current administration might make some sort of progress, but I doubt it. I mean, it's no account. I know I've only had my tax returns done by CPAs, certified public accountants.
My dad's a CPA, and so I'm blessed. He always tells me I'm his worst client. Like, he only does my taxes. He only does my taxes because I'm his daughter. Otherwise, he's like, you're like the worst. You're like the most disorganized. So I got to tell you this real quick.
They're not going to do anything, Megan, that's going to be against the law, that's going to put them in jeopardy of losing their license. That's why all this dialogue is just so frustrating, because most of it's very untruth. And, if you keep saying somebody is doing something that is so terrible and it's bringing down the country, then it's a law that they're doing. That's it. They're doing a law. It's possible that you can lose so much money one year that they have a thing called carry forward. In certain aspects of your tax return, you can carry forward losses, I think 3 to 5 years, which means that if you lose really, really big one year, which a lot of people do, you can carry those losses forward. And instead of paying taxes the next year, maybe you get lucky the next year and you start making money. Well, you have this large pile of taxes that or credits that you were already down so low that you just average this in with your past performances, and you don't owe any taxes because you lost so much money on these previous years. I'm not here trying to make a statement. I'm just saying, I wish people on television would be more truthful and honest. And there's no one just decides each morning they get up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, it doesn't work like that. If you decide you're going to go out and be a renegade, you're going to end up in jail.
Well, so when I was pregnant with my son Rocco 18 years ago, I was a financial planner at that time of my life, and I was working really long hours. Like, I would be driving home at 9 months pregnant at 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Wow. And I would always, like, Taco Bell was next to my office. So I would always go get 4 Taco Bell hard shell beef tacos. And so that was my dinner. Like, literally, I ate Taco Bell like every night driving home at 7 o'clock. And so he said to me, he goes, your son's going to come out and he's going to say, ChickfilA. And you know what? Rocco loves Taco Bell still to this day. I said, you know what? Because I lived on Taco Bell every night for dinner when I was driving home from work.
Rocco's a great kid. And you know what? And it's like, it's lessons you learned earlier in life. I think that's what makes you who you are. It's your experiences, your willingness to try things. there's a lot of people that I knew in my life that really never took any risk. I'm not saying they were unsuccessful, because they were successful in certain things that they did, occupations, lessons that they learned. But when you never take any chances, I don't know. To me, I think there's some thrills to the taking chances. Not that you're going to be walking, on some ledge, and fall off and die or anything like that. I'm just saying, risk a little bit of maybe of your assets. Take a chance. Most people that really acquired success somewhere in their life, things did not go very well for them. The wealthiest person that I've met in my life has been Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. And he wrote a book, and he worked for a company in California, a home improvement company called Handy Dandy. And him and his two other friends and associates were fired and terminated. This was years ago, of course. And he lived in Atlanta at the time. And he said, rather than feel sorry for himself, he got his other friend who worked at Handy Dandy, and they decided they were going to go out and form another company. And they found a J.C. Penney building in Atlanta, Georgia, that was 100,000 square feet. And they signed a lease on that J.C. Penney building, and they created Home Depot. And the rest is history. And what would have happened if Arthur Blank and his partners had decided, I'm not going to do anything. I feel sorry for myself. I lost all this money, and for myself and
that is a great story. That is an amazing story.
Yeah, it's not the mean corporations, because in fact, Arthur Blank has done so much for Atlanta. I mean, I was down there several years. I didn't see all the things that he did for them. Pay for highways, pay for museums, pay for parks. I mean, the give back is incredible. And, how many other people do we have in our country? Mr. Microsoft, he's constantly doing, the original founder of Microsoft. He does so many good things in terms of, not only for families, children, minorities, you name it, he does it. And I think his goal one time, I remember hearing him in a talk one time, his goal is to give away everything he has by the time his death comes around. When's the last time you heard that from anybody? I don't want to give it all away. I want to make sure I have nothing at the end. And, I guess it depends on whether you have kids or not. Most situations that I know that very large sums of money are given to children of a successful entrepreneur, it's gone. It falls through their fingers like water. And where did it all go? It's easy to spend money when you don't know how to replace it or how to share it or try to make something out of it. And so, I mean, it's just one aspect of life, that we have to make a decision in terms of trying to be successful, from our personal life and our business life. And I think, what goes with that, and you and I talked about that too, Megan, is, just our personal life too with our kids. I just think that's where everything starts right there. If you can't create an environment for your children that they feel confident and successful and energetic, then you really just haven't done your job, because let's face it, you and I, in a matter of a couple decades or whatever, even sooner than that, might not be here, especially me. So we're preparing our children, they're our replacements. They're what's known in sports as the next man up. That's what somebody, when you're sitting on the bench and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. I know, because I had to wait for my chance. And waiting, and finally somebody breaks an ankle, tears a ligament, bruises a muscle,
and you're in. And then you're in.
You're in. You better get ready. You better put your uniform on, and it's time to go. And sometimes that happens to younger people than they would like, almost like in the teenage years. Most of us, I think really get handed off somewhere around our early 20s into life and say, okay, what do you got for me? How you gonna succeed? How are you gonna make a go of this? And really, if it isn't trying to set up some of the habits that we're going to need later in life, what habits? Communication, getting up on time. You don't realize when someone doesn't show up, on something that was planned, like I've done many times, you start thinking he wasn't really interested in this or something else. It has to be, who his friends are, who you're associating with. It's like, my son and my grandchildren, I always really, that's the number one thing I tell them. Please just associate with people that you would like to be like, or that have achieved incredible accomplishments or value or a position, in a company or even something. I think nothing's better than like those self-entrepreneurs, like doctors and physicians and people that just created something out of nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, all these corporations and things we see, someone had an idea in their mind. I don't care. Just drive around, stop signs, pavement, concrete. Somebody had to create that years ago and come up with an idea, the old automobile, electricity, all that sort of thing. Benjamin Franklin and the airplanes. I mean, everything was an idea. And so that's what makes it so wonderful. We're not beyond the age of ideas. I mean, there's plenty of ideas out there right now that could be thought of, constructed, whatever. But it takes someone that's always thinking and always trying to progress and say, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make it better.
Well, so I gotta share with this because I think this is so cool, and I'm hacking from my friend, but this is so cool because it's so true. And it said, and this is just me, but it says it's written 365 times in the Bible to not be fearful. Don't be fearful. 300. Right. So every single day, go towards your dreams, make things happen. And it's written 365 times. That's on purpose, right? Because there's 365 days. And so I texted it to my kids and I said specifically, don't be fearful. Like, do whatever you think you should do. It's the phrase, do not be afraid, is written in the Bible 365 times. That's a daily reminder from God to live every day being fearless. And that's what you and I both do.
You know what it is too? I think that you look back on your life and there's successes and there are failures. I can accept the failures because I know that I gave everything I had. I gave 100% effort. I fought as hard as I could in games, in other contests against other people, just competing for positions, things like that. There's one thing that just haunts me the rest of my life, and it's things that I didn't do, chances that I didn't take. They were right there, right in front of me. All I had to do was get up out of the chair and go take a couple steps forward and say, hey, I'm in. Count me in. I'm in this thing. And I didn't do it. And then you start thinking, there are certain things in our life that you don't get another take on it. It's not like you just keep coming up the bat in baseball, like, oh, okay, 8 players, 9 players later, I'm going to get back up again. And now I'm going to have another chance to hit a home run or a double or whatever. Life isn't like that, because you know why? We're aging. We're going through a process. And so the same ideas that we passed on when we were teenagers, they aren't relevant right now when we're in our 60s or 50s or 40s, because those days are long gone. Those opportunities are long gone. And the way this world is changing right now, I mean, it's so different than when I was younger and a child making decisions, whether to go to college, all these other sort of things. Colleges weren't like, you just found a treasure chest. I mean, I thought like $3,000 or $4,000 was like incredible amounts of money back in the day when I was going to college. That's nothing now. That doesn't even buy you lunch for the semester. I mean, you got to pay some money. I talk to these kids now, and some of them are actually trying to work their way. They're not being helped by their parents like you're able to do with your children, and I did with mine. And you just feel sorry for them because they're literally putting their life on the line here and basically working to try to pay off a debt. And many of them, are full of debt, once they reach those four-year markers and haven't paid all the admission charges and books and the dormitory and all those sort of things. I mean, if I would have thought that there would be like, people just waiting to hire you when you come out, it's not like that. you not only have to have the educational part of it, you have to have the experience. And I think
Well,
until you put two of those together.
So let's leave all of our friends with this, because you and I can talk forever, and we don't want to. We can talk forever, but let's leave all of our friends with this. We have basically 30 days, essentially 30 days until 2022. So now is the time to plan, put down your goals, put down what you want to accomplish, write it down, focus on it, and put it in your brain, because when you put in your brain what you want to achieve, your mind is so powerful. It's so powerful. And so people need to think about the next 30 days, what it is they want to accomplish in 2022, and get to the goals and the things, because they have all the assets they need to get there.
You're right. You know what? And here's, you and I are all about writing things down. If you just say, okay, we're meeting here at the beginning of the year, and we're figuring out what we want to do. If there's no follow-up, there's no follow-through with that conversation, then you're just going to wait until the next year and say, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to do good again. You know what? What motivates me is knowing that even like in football, I had to practice every day. I had to learn something about the Vikings or the Lions, or not much about the Lions because they weren't even good when I was playing. But,
all right, go Vikings. I'm Minnesota.
The Vikings, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the San Francisco 49ers, all those things, if you didn't follow through and follow and hold yourself responsible for that week, then you were going to fail. You were going to contribute to the loss of a team that you were on. Well, think about this as a team. A family is a team. There aren't too many things that you can just accomplish in one day. That's what I love, the challenge about careers and accomplishments and things like that. You got to string a number of days or weeks or years together to actually make it work. And, especially in the field of medicine, doctors, scientists, all those sort of things, those things just don't happen overnight. It's something that has to be done on an incremental basis to be successful. And the same thing with football. I mean, you got to keep learning new skills and become stronger each time, each level you go up to. All the players are bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter, more importantly. And, because once you get to pro football, there were a few situations in college where there were families, where players actually got married, they had children in college. Very, very, very few. Only a matter of one or two or three, if there was any. You go in the NFL or the NBA or NHL, those are all professional players. They get paid, and they have families, and they have children. You think when they go home every night, they have a wife or a spouse or children that need their production and they need to be there every day, contributing and not lose their job. So it puts another segment of why, you think it was hard to beat somebody out in college. Once you get to the NFL, these guys are all good, fast, smart. And you know what? Most of them have families. And you know what? In nature, I don't care what animal it is, that animal will fight to the death to protect his family.
You are a walking, living legend of that, because that's exactly what you've always done.
It was a certain sacrifice that you go, I can't succeed. It's funny when you're on, there's a lot of people that aren't born with blessings and privileges and all that sort of thing, despite what everybody thinks. And you know what? You don't have any backup gear. There's no way of going, well, I'm going to fall into my father's business that he had. And yeah, maybe I'll only make, 6 figures, starting out before I become vice president, and I'll really make some money. No, it's like you're scratching and clawing. And the good thing is all the people that you're usually competing against, they're all in the same situation you are. They've come from nothing. Honestly, they are getting to this point because they are just so determined that they've been able to sacrifice themselves, their time, their effort, their money, their body to get to this opportunity. And, then it's a matter of, okay, we're going to do all this, just similar to some of the things that you did, Megan, in terms of, the contest you were involved in. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, go home and work on it for like 2 years and come back here and we'll have another. No, it's right now. It's like, we're going to be doing this tomorrow and then the next week and then the next week. And then that's it. We're going to make a choice. And if you're part of it, fantastic. If not, you're going home. And that sense of urgency was something that I'm very, very thankful, though, that I learned. And because I realized quickly that, tomorrow is not promised. And if you're going to be successful, then you got to do everything you can right now to make it happen.
And I'm going to leave us with this. And Reggie Grant is the one, and I think I've told you this before, and I've said it before. Yesterday is a cash check. Today, I can't remember his exact words, but it was so great. Yesterday is a cash check. Today is cash. And tomorrow is a promissory note. And like that Reggie Grant, I quote him all the time with that because I love it, because it's so true. Yesterday is a cash check. It's over with. Today is cash, right? Today you can make things happen. Tomorrow is a promissory note. And he's so right. I love that quote that he always says. So, well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to finish getting ready for, you can see over here, I'm going to decorate my tree. And get ready for Christmas. And thank you. You're always awesome, Doug.
Well, no, it's Megan. You really motivate me. A lot of times we have conversations about experiences that similar experience both of us have had. It might be in a little bit different arrangement or goal setting and things like that. But when you strip it all away and you get down to the basics, it's about drive, determination, having friends as a foundation. I'll be honest with you. There were times in my life recently, not in the last 20 years, but when I was playing football and things like that, I would have tears in my eyes about effort that I either made or didn't make, or players that I was so close to that were now gone, that were let go, released. They were like brothers. I mean, seriously, you talk about being in the same trenches, fighting it out. You truly were. And you would go back to dinner or a meeting, or after the meeting, you would just sit around maybe in a room and talk about, geez, is this even possible? Can I make this team? What happens if I don't? What am I going to do? I mean, it was all these things that you and I are just kind of talking about right now, the inevitability of life, or even as we go through life, trying to make that transition from one occupation to another, and maybe helping somebody else up with a helping hand, which, I found that to be even more satisfying and, rewarding than anything I can imagine.
I keep saying we're going to stop talking because I can talk to you forever. But so my neighbor, it was so fun. I brought over, he's by himself and his son lives in Nebraska. And so I brought him dinner Wednesday night before we went to our family's thing. But I brought him dinner and poinsettia and a card. And then he was so funny, but we did a shout out on Messenger to his son. And, I will tell you, helping and doing always something positive is the best blessing. It makes you feel the best of anything. Do you know what I mean? And it was so fun. And it was a ride. But anyway, so that was like my little Thanksgiving, really positive thing that I really enjoyed. So enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. I definitely will.
Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time, because your schedule is so busy. So, that's why, just so everybody knows, our schedule is not 100% always the same, because Doug is on the air, announcing for the NFL and sportscasting and doing all the cool things that he does. So we just adjust and do it whenever he can do it. So thank you.
Thanks, Megan. I look forward to the next journey.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.